Hello and welcome. Welcome to this session on the 4 pillars of weight loss. Very excited to be here this week. So if you're online now, do type in and say hello. So what you'll see just below the sign here is, just below the screen, is a box for you to message us. And the way that you do that, you do, I think the very first time, just need to put your email in. That's how the system works. And then you type in a comment. So let's all test that now. Okay, guys, so type in hello if you're there. It's always nice to know that you're talking to somebody, because I can be talking to myself, which I do a lot, but not always get a sensible answer. Hello, Charlie. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing? Appreciate your response. So just give it a couple of seconds and then we'll wait to see a few other people and we'll get going. So excellent. We've got a lot to cover, but I want to keep this short because this is part 2 of a webinar. And if you missed the first part where we looked at some of the psychological cues behind weight loss, then that's available for you on YouTube. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is great stuff. Really appreciate you saying hi. All right, I think we're ready to roll. So, before we get going, as always, we're up against this battle of technology, and technology is wonderful, but it can be very distracting. So, what I suggest you do, just to get the most out of this short webinar that we're going to be doing. Hi, Mick. Hi, Marvis. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Excellent. How exciting. So, get the most from it. As you probably understand, technology is distracting. There is only so many cute cats that you can look at. So although there might be some puppies within this presentation, there won't be any kittens. But I'm sure you can survive the short period of time that we're going to do this. So please do turn off email, Skype, iTunes, all those other programs, Twitter, and join us. Be here with us. Be present. So that's excellent. So what we're going to be exploring in today's session. So what we're going to do is have an overview of the 4 pillars of weight loss. What do I mean by the 4 pillars of weight loss? There's 4 areas that if you master will pretty much guarantee your success. 2 of them are very obvious. The third one is what we've been exploring last time, and we'll touch on that again in this session, which is mindset. But the fourth one surprises a lot of people. And in fact, if you don't do the 4th pillar correctly, then you'll actually struggle, and all your efforts in the other 3 areas pretty much fail. So it's a very important one. So if you get nothing else from what we're doing today, but act on the last pillar, it will help you no end. And in that, what we're going to do is look at a kind of case study. So I'm not going to go through where somebody started on their way and then how much they lost, and etc. like that. But what we're going to explore is what is happening inside somebody's head. How did we make a shift from somebody being fairly addicted to certain foods to being able to easily give them up within one session, and explore what we did there. Then we're going to talk about an opportunity to take this even further. And then, so question and answer session. But in fact, if you've got any questions, you've got anything that you'd like to contribute, just go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that at any time. Right, so I think I know most people online, but in case you're watching the replay of this, my name is John Cassie Rice. I'm an NLP Master Trainer, but I'm also somebody who has struggled with my weight over the years. It's kind of yo-yoed up and down. And a lot of that was to do with my lifestyle. When I'm traveling a lot, and I'm in hotel rooms, I'm in airports, and I drive in and traveling a lot. And to be fair, I was eating a lot out of boredom. I absolutely love what I do. I love the people I meet. But with anything you do, there's always a bit of a downside, and that's the traveling, the hotel rooms, the airports, etc. So my weight has fluctuated, and you can see that here. And where I tend to put it on is in the stomach, and we can see the difference that's gone. And the reason I'm doing this now, and I won't put this picture up too long, so I'm sure you don't have a look at a large stomach. I know you know what those things look like. Is that I've managed to keep the weight off over 2 years now, and it's all down to these 4 pillars. So any guesses what the first 2 pillars would be? So what would you guess pillar 1 and pillar 2 would be for you losing weight? What would you say? So type in your answer now, and hopefully we're going to get a bit of interaction going, because there's going to be a couple of these types of questions going on. So what 2 areas would really help you lose weight? So what would you say would be number 1 and then number 2? Now they're very obvious, that's for sure. So go ahead and type those in now, and I'll take the first answers that we come up. And also, just by the way, as you're typing that, there's always a delay when we're doing anything online like this, and it can be a little while that. So we've got Charlie saying diet and exercise, and then Marvin saying willpower and food and exercise from Suzanne. And it's diet and exercise. With willpower coming under the bracket of pillar number 3. And then we've got Mick saying diet and exercise. Hi, Dean. It's a habit, yes, and that will fall under pillar 3. So we've got the first 3 pillars. This is excellent. So getting the food right. Now, as we said in the last webinar on this subject, pretty much every diet you could come across does work. But there's some fundamental things about food that we all instinctively know that will help us lose weight. And there be the things like eating lots of fresh fruit and vegetables, that they will make a difference. And eating real food rather than processed foods. And I think that's fairly well established. And exercise. Exercise, if I had the choice out of the 2, food would be key. Get the food right, include the exercise. Because exercise doesn't particularly directly help you lose weight. It's kind of an indirect thing, whereas it tones up your muscle, and then you can utilize the energy that is stored throughout our body. So those 2 in place is what everybody knows, and pretty much what everybody does to greater or lesser success. And we can get short-term success, but it's the long-term process that seems to hold people up. And this is where the next 2 pillars come into play. Okay, so what you see in front of you are 2 circles, but they're an optical illusion. Which color circle is the largest? Which color circle is the largest? So go ahead and type in. Oh, Anne saying there. So as you're typing in your answers, or which circle is the largest, Anne saying type in the answers. So just below Anne, you will see a box there where you need to put your email address in. It's just a system we use. We just need to do it once, as you've done, and then type in that. So in fact, do exactly what you've just done to communicate, because whatever you've just done to type to me is how you type in the answers. Okay, so on the screen you see 2 circles. Which one's larger and which one's smaller? Which color? So I'll let just a couple of people come in, and then I'll let you know what the overall vote is. So we've got yellow. Oops, I meant to say that. That's leading, isn't it? So we've got the first one in. So just give it a couple of seconds, and we'll hear what other people say. There we go. So okay, we've got a mixture there. So we've got one yellow. We've got a couple saying the same. One saying the right-hand side, and so the answer is they're both the same. Yeah, okay, yellow is larger. So we've got, overall, the vote was for yellow being larger, but in fact, they're both the same. So why am I misleading you on this? And I'm purposely misleading you on this. That's partly because what happens, you hear something enough, you start to believe that it's true. We as human beings are strange like this. Whether it's true or not, if we hear something enough, we start to believe that it's true. And so, sorry about that, guys. Often it's the story we tell ourselves, and the story I told you was this is an optical illusion. And then we start to believe this. Now, do you suspect within the diet, let's call it a diet industry, but anything to do with diet, food, losing weight, etc., there's lots of stories going on around, and there are lots of people saying things, and they say it loud enough and long enough that we start to believe it. So, for example, you have to eat meat to get good protein. That is a story we've been told. But we see a lot of people, vegetarians or vegans, will actually get just enough protein as much as anyone else. Who's heard that we have to drink milk to have healthy bones? Which is quite a strange thought, really. But we've heard those stories enough. So this comes down to what we're talking about is pillar 3. It's the mindset. What do you think about food? What do you think about exercise? Which all translates into willpower. Now, I know somebody put down willpower. That's marvelous. Mavis, sorry. And what we notice about willpower, so all the research around willpower, it seems to be finite. And we start off at the beginning of the day, very virtuous, lots of willpower. We can resist the chocolate, and we have the apple. But as the day goes on, and we need to do more and more during our day, by the time we get home, we often find ourselves, as no matter how committed we are to a diet, our willpower starts to lack. So willpower is definitely part of the mindset. So it builds the habits. And around that are the stories we tell ourselves, what we think about food. So I promise you a bit of a case study. Now, this is based on the stories we tell ourselves about food. Now, they don't have to be true. They don't really, doesn't matter, but we can act as though they are. I was reading a book on productivity this week. And they were saying in there that the mindset really matters, makes all the difference. And it's one of the things I proposed. And then they were talking about this case study that they were looking at, where they took a group of people who've been out running, and then they offered them a milkshake. And half the group, they told them the milkshake was made out of milk, had some ice cream in there, some sugars, etc. And the other half of the group, they told them that the milkshake was made up of, I think it was almond milk, and had healthy fats in there, like an avocado and some vanilla pods. So it's all very healthy for them. And what they're doing is they're measuring how their body responded to it with the insulin spikes, etc. And the people who believed they were drinking something healthy, their body had a really good response to the milkshake. But the people who believed they were drinking something that was unhealthy, their insulin sugars went up amazing amounts. And yet they were both drinking the same milkshake. That's how powerful the mindset is. So I had a client, and she was saying to me that she wanted to become a vegetarian. But she loved eating meat. She'd done all the research. She knew the health benefits of becoming a vegetarian. And I'm not necessarily advocating this. I'm just talking about one of my clients. And she said, is there anything I could do to help her from eating this meat to eating vegetarian, being a vegetarian? And I said, is it that you want to cut out all meats? And she did say yes. So what I needed to do then was to loosen up her map of the world that she had around eating meat. And it seemed to be around the taste and the family experience. So What I'm about to do is share with you the story that I put together, the information I put together to shift her thinking. Now, it's not my intention to shift your thinking into being a vegetarian or vegan or anything like that. You get to choose what you want to eat. All I do is just to illustrate how would you loosen somebody's mindset up so that you can start to shift it. So, and I was quite gentle, to be fair. There's a couple of things I knew about her. She cared about people, she cared about the planet. So I utilized that. So, so some ideas of some of the things I did to shift her mindset away from that. Okay, so on your screen now, you see some strawberries. What words come to mind when you look at these strawberries? And they're organic strawberries. So go ahead and type in what types of words come into mind when you look at these strawberries. So just give you a moment to type some of those in. Hopefully you've forgiven me over the circle thing. All right, excellent. Starting to come through. Yum, yum. Yes, that's a lovely, yes, especially strawberries. Uh, Fabulous answer. I would agree with that. Red and juicy, sweet, absolutely. And if we were all in a room together and I brought in a big bowl of strawberries that are organic and fresh and sweet, as Charlie says, these awesome, once scrumptious, lovely, sweet and juicy, fresh and sweet, absolutely. And if I used to say, go ahead and smell the strawberries, you'd smell strawberry. You would then go ahead, if I cut one in half, inside it, you still smell the strawberries. And if we're all in a room together, it wouldn't be strange if we got up and started eating the strawberries. We would really appreciate that. So to the next slide and do the same thing. Right, so on the screens there, you see some pigs, some little piglets. What words come to mind now? So we're looking at this picture here. And what words will come to mind as you look at this picture? And go ahead and type those in. Now remember, this is part of an experiment I did with a client. So I was getting her to do the same thing. It actually works better when you do this type of thing in a group. So what words come to mind? So we've got Sunday dinner. We got cute and fluffy. We got another cute, and yeah, cute seems to be the overriding one here. And you know what? Out of the responses, that tends to be what we get when we do this experiment with people. We got bacon, sweet, but not in the same way. Okay, the same way as the strawberries. Yeah, so it's a different type of sweet, isn't it? So when we do this within a group setting, and I also do it on the one-to-one, is that's the response we get from those. Now, if we're in a room together and I bring in a piglet, just one of these little fellas you see on there, a little pig comes in, and would your mouth water and salivate as I brought this in? And then I know there's a couple of you down put down bacon and Sunday dinner. So would your mouth salivate if I brought in the live pig? Probably not. And so if I said, right, if you smelled the pig, what would you smell? You would smell pig. Yeah. And if I took a knife and I cut the pig in half in front of you and asked you to smell the insides, just like we did with the strawberries, would you want to eat it then? No. Now, isn't that interesting? We're quite happy to allow somebody to kill the pig and statistics I come across, and these were in the US, so it's slightly smaller for the UK. In the US, 10 billion cows, pigs, chickens are slaughtered every year. So on average, every second, there's 300 animals being slaughtered. So 300, 600, 900, 1,200 animals being slaughtered. Okay. Right, but isn't it interesting? We'll eat certain animals. Okay, so let's do the same thing again. But this time, what comes to mind when you see this picture? Another picture. This time it's a puppy. So what words come to mind with this one? And I know some of you might be foreshadowing where I'm going with this. So we've got Rover up on the screen there, and we're just thinking about what words will come to mind when we see this picture. And again, we've got cute coming in. We got fluffy ball of fun. Fluffy, cute, adorable and cuddly, cuddly friend. Excellent. So we're in a group of room together, and I bring in a puppy. Would your mouth salivate? Okay, and so if I took over and you smelt the puppy, you'd smell puppy. And if I get a big knife and come over, maybe I should just stop there. Okay, but why would we eat one animal over another animal? Because that's the story our culture tells ourselves. It's not the same around the world. In the UK, there's 10 million pigs eaten, slaughtered and eaten every day. In China, there's 10 million dogs eaten and slaughtered and then eaten every day. Not every day, but over a year. But why is one more acceptable and one's not so acceptable? Well, it's the stories we tell ourselves. And those stories we tell ourselves about food, that it's okay to eat one type of animal but not another type of animal, are not the same culturally around the world. But do you think a pig wants to live? Now remember, I just want to emphasize here, it's not my goal to turn you to vegetarians or vegans or anything like this. Asked to do this by somebody. And so this is the case I started putting together. So culturally, we tell ourselves a story. It's okay to eat piglets, but it's not okay to eat dog. Now, but yet, they both have eyes, they both have noses, they both have ears. And yes, I picked particularly cute pictures of them. I do suggest that. But that is a cultural bias. So if it's okay to eat piglets, why is it not okay to eat dogs? And if it's not okay to eat dogs, why is it not okay to eat piglets? Challenge me at any time, guys. What about calves? Probably, apart from chickens, calves are utilised more than any other animals. Apart from chickens, with chickens, there's huge amounts slaughtered with chickens. And so, said we need. Who's heard that we need to drink milk to have healthy bones for the calcium, etc. So, milk. Now, milk. This is where we verge on going towards vegan here. So, we're down this road anyway. So let's just play along. So milk. It does baffle me that it's not dog's milk we eat. It's not cow. We drink cow's milk. It's not. But we don't tend to drink elephant milk, giraffe milk, We don't drink cow's milk. No, we do drink cow's milk, cat's milk. We don't drink rhino's milk. But why not? Somebody at some point in our history looked at a cow and went, I wonder what that tastes like coming out from that udder, which always baffles me. We're the only kind of creatures that will drink another animal's milk. Now, all food, what you learn to eat is what you tend to prefer to eat. The only food that comes slightly addictive is your mother's milk. And when I say mother's milk, it could be a cow's mother, etc. There's a chemical in there called casomorphins. It makes you feel good. Now, the mindset behind that is incredible. So, casomorphins is slightly addictive, especially when you're young. And that's because you need the milk. So nature's had a way to make you addicted to it, and we have to wean you off the milk. But we as humans will drink another animal's milk. And if you want to be put off it, here's how you go about it. So this is all me going through this case study. If you want to be, well, I want to give up milk. An idea really behind that is to give up the cheeses. This is what I was going at, because there was she was eating an overload of milk and sort of beef burgers and stuff like this. So this was my goal. Now, soon as a calf is born, it's taken away from its mother in what's called factory farms. Now, the mother wants to produce the milk for the baby calf. The baby calf does not get to see it. It's dragged off. The male, I'm not sure what happens in the UK, but I couldn't find much about that. But in America, the male calves are more or less killed straight away, and then the baby calves are then kind of weaned on this kind of wheat stuff and synthesized milk. So they don't get to have their mother's milk. And then the mother is put into these cages. They're stressed. Now, if you don't think animals have feelings, have you ever seen an animal being looked after like this? Now, so why am I telling you all this? It's not to turn you into vegetarians or vegans, but really to explore the extent you often have to go to shift the story. The reason being is that we have biases. So if you are a meat eater and you wanted to shift your mindset, or if you're a vegetarian and you want to shift your mindset and maybe eat more meat, well, you have biases that are already there. You will prove yourself true and even come up with excuses that you never had before to really prove your point. So when we go through to shift the mindset, to shift the stories you're telling yourself, as Dean says, mindsets of your cultures you're in, then you often have to go to the extremes. And in what I've talked about, it can seem very extreme, but I didn't mean it to be extreme, and it could go a lot further than that. Right. So that mindset, shifting the mindset, that we have a whole batch of tools and techniques that we can do that. The storytelling one is a big one. One of the things you have to do is when you're designing those is to be able to break the story and then introduce the new story and be able to back that up with information and facts. You take the story first to create the emotional momentum, and then you please the conscious mind by giving it the facts and the research behind it. Okay, so far we've looked at these three pillars. Food, we know food matters. It really does matter. And exercise. Yes, you get those two in place. You're on the way to success. Then the mindset. Get the mindset straight, which includes a whole batch of processes, including willpower, motivation, value set, beliefs, habits. And with all of those, put those together, you've got a very powerful force. But this last pillar, if you do not have it in place, will undermine the other three. and undo all the good work you're doing. So, what is it? Drum roll, please. So, on your desks or on your laptops, on your knees, let me hear a drum roll. Good stuff. Right, you're not all doing it. We want everybody included. Drum roll, please. It is, and this is often surprising, sleep. Sleep is one of the best tools you have for keeping the weight off and losing the weight in the first place. A lot of research just recently being gone into sleep. And at one point, we can't understand, why would we sleep? It's such a dangerous thing to do. You know, we were out living in the caves, we're curled up, go to sleep, we're unconscious for about 8 hours a night. And what then happens is we're at the mercy of other animals coming in and going, a little snack. And we could be eating. So it seems a really strange things that we would sleep. Now, from sleep, from a weight loss point of view, has this effect. When you have too little sleep, the hormones that make you feel hungry are concentrated and increased. And at the same time, suppressing another hormone that will signal you that you feel full and satisfied with what you eat. So this is why when you are tired and you've lacking sleep, and the average sleep is 7.5 hours to 8, up to 9. The reason that you don't particularly want to sleep more than 9 is sleep is addictive, and you become sort of kind of groggy throughout the day. Now, any less than 9, you're going through certain 90-minute sleep cycles. And if you wake up on a sleep, if you do need to wake up on the 4th sleep cycle, but ideally we want a little bit more than that. So you can get away with that for a while. And so when you're tired, you want to eat. And you'll probably notice that you never feel quite satisfied or full. Now here, interesting, is that you maybe have eaten the right foods. You might be exercising. You might even have your mindset straight. Yet, if you are deprived of sleep, you will not burn fat. You'll actually start to burn lean body muscle mass. And I'm looking into why that would be so, because that seems a very strange thing for the body to do. Because when you start to lose weight, although everybody says, oh, you're going to lose weight, you're going to lose lean body mass, which is your muscles, etc. Well, not really. You're going to lose a little bit, but hardly anything to write home about. Your body is intelligent. When it's functioning well and it needs to use energy, it's not going to go, let me ignore the fat where I actually store my energy and use lean muscle first. No, it goes straight for the fat. But when you're tired, that mechanism doesn't work so well. So what does sleep do for us? Well, it does a whole range of things, from making sure that your metabolic rate is in a good state, your immune system, so you're not going to become ill. One of the things it does, amazingly, is when you're sleeping, it's balancing your insulins against the glucose circling in your system. Diabetes, anybody? Sleep. And you see, it's key here. Good night's sleep regulates appetite. It makes sure that your gut, your biome in your gut, is well balanced and looked after. It also has an effect on your cardiovascular system. Wow, there's nothing good. And you get a chance to dream as well. So when I say it's the 4th pillar, it's a vital pillar. Now, Dr. Matthew Walker has written a book called Why We Sleep, which is a really good one. It's one of the books I've been reading this week. And he says, the physical and mental impairments caused by one night of bad sleep dwarf those caused by the equivalent absence of food or exercise. Sleep is your friend when you want to lose weight. So when you're on a diet and you're exercising, now what you want to make sure is that you have your mindset straight and move into good night's sleep. And I would suggest getting 8 hours sleep minimum. Seven to 8 is fine, but go for 8 hours so you get a good night's sleep. And isn't that surprising? That sleep is so important to us as humans, and yet in our busy day-to-day activities, when the busier we become, the first thing that tends to go is our sleep. We'll stay up late working. We'll binge watch the new program on Netflix. And yet, sleep, if you've got to sacrifice something, do not sacrifice your sleep. What you possibly want to do if you're really busy is sacrifice series, the binge watching. I know, how are you going to keep up with what everybody's talking about? So, not necessarily any of this is easy, but what it does do is illustrate if you want to get results, you've got to be committed. And I'd love to hear your questions. So any questions, any insights from anything we've covered today would be fabulous. And while you're thinking of those and typing those in, let me let you know about a workshop we're coming up in the new year, which is all about this topic where we dive deep into this and we look at you personally, what would work for you, not what works for the generalization thing, but what works for you. We're going to come up with a game plan. So it's powerful, it's interactive, it's going to be for the smallest group. So we're looking to find out what's your true motivation for losing weight. Now, so what do I mean by that? So losing weight for a wedding is great. Losing weight for a special occasion is great. And notice you seem to be able to achieve those goals. What we're looking for is long-term motivation for losing weight that resonates deeply within inside you and which will keep it off healthy weight loss for a long period of time, not just for a few months. We're going to, like I said, there's a whole range of tools that we can utilize. We have enough tools and enough ways of eating. They all work. They all work. So whatever you choose to use to lose weight will work. But what we're going to look at is what's going on between your ears and what effective tools for lifelong changing your beliefs around food. Because if we can change those, and one of those I shared with you tonight, which may be a little bit shocking for some of you, and I didn't mean to upset anybody, and I can assure you, no puppies were hurt in the telling of that story. But changing our thoughts and we'll talk about sleep habits and how we can maximize those as well. And a whole range of tools that we're going to borrow from many disciplines, not just from NLP, but from many disciplines, to be able to change your habits with ease so that you can get rid of old habits and replace them with new ones. It's going to be very exciting. Now, it's not a case of turning up for a workshop and that's it. We're going to have a private Facebook group. We're going to have follow-up webinars just like this, where we can interact, top up the information, share our successes, share the things that didn't work as well so that we can all learn from each other and move on and successfully achieve our goals and take control back of this area of your life. Because when you take control in one area of your life, that shows up into other areas of your life and you become more confident. And when you're feeling more confident, opportunities open up for you. And when you're feeling fitter and healthier, and you'll have the energy to follow through on those opportunities. So this is much more than just about losing weight. It can change our whole lives. We're going to do an online version of the workshop, which is going to be filled with information, which will be sold separately. But for the first lots of people that come on a course, we're going to give it as part of it. And so our intention is to do this workshop for $495, the online version $395, because we don't have to book a venue or anything. But what I'm after is for your feedback. So I've been doing a lot of this on a one-to-one basis, and I've been dabbling into some of the smaller workshops. But what we're looking for is your feedback to make this better. And, we need some testimonials. This is a brand new workshop. So VAT is £120. So before we get to the questions and answers, one-to-one phone call to start your journey. So as soon as you book on, what I'd like to do is arrange a phone call with you so that we can get you off to the right track, because it's going to be going to be after Christmas now, and I know Christmas is coming up. It's a couple of weeks, but every day counts. We're going to accept a minimum of maximum of 32 people onto the first workshop. So I would suggest that you get on there as soon as you can. Hopefully, if the technology is working this week, you'll see a button below that you can click that says sign up for the workshop. You'll receive an email confirming your payment. This will be via PayPal. And then what I'll do is you'll receive an email from myself tomorrow. The reason that is I want to write you a personal email, not an autoresponder thing. Okay, then I want to arrange the one-to-one call with you. So where we're going to hold this? The historic town of Chichester. Now, this is where I live. It's a beautiful little place. And what I would suggest is make it a weekend. Come down and spend a couple of days here, because if you've never been to Chichester, it's absolutely visit. It's very historic. We've got lots going on here. So it's going to be the 20th of January. So we kick the year off in the right way. And then, like I said, it's the first 32. So if you're interested, book on now. If you've got any questions, let me know. So questions answered. So I've got a question coming in now from Anne. And it says, I could be absolutely committed to eating, exercising, and being in the right mindset. But then almost without a lapse warning, a lapse comes and then I can't get back onto it again. Why is that? Right, so there's several explanations for this. Now, the key here is that you ask actually why, and then we'll talk about how do we make sure we can get back into the progress again. Now, if we look at what's going on in the brain, there's a couple of theories around it. So let's take our example from neuroscience. Now, one of the things that's happening in neuroscience is they're working with people on computers. They're trying to come up with a neural network, basically a computer that thinks for itself. And some of our biggest insights into how the brain is operating is coming from, can we get a computer to think like humans? Okay, this is taken from the work of David Eagleman. And what he was talking about was this. One of the things that held up this science of looking at getting a computer to think like a human was somebody had the idea of going, oh, isn't it a little bit like if we can program a computer with a robotic arm to pick up a cup. But what we can't do is get it to pick up the cup by itself, i.e. decide to pick it up and then work out how to do that. Right, so somebody said, well, let's do a little program that makes decisions, and then it must break everything down. So it must break down, so if a hand's going to pick up a cup, it needs to move forward until it gets to a certain point in the cup, then it needs to come down, then it needs to judge the size of the cup, the pressure that it must do to pick it up so it won't be dropped, and use those as all little compartments. So compartmentalized each of those little activities. But the big breakthrough coming, because they got so far with that and moved forward and then stalled again. But what they found out is that the brains run systems. So there's neural networks that run. And it's a little bit like a political party. So there's lots of political parties going on at any one time. And it seems to be the one that shouts the loudest gets to run the country. And notice that all the political parties all pretty much want to run the country. They do it in slightly different ways. And lots of them will come and go. So there's lots of political parties that have been in favour at one point but have disappeared, and we can't even remember what they were called. And they came about that because what it seemed to be is there's lots of backups, and they're redundant backups, especially in our memories. And so we have sort of 3 levels of memory. We have the amygdala. We have all sorts of backups of memories. And we also, for everything we do, from eating food, exercising, etc., mindsets. We have all these systems. Now, when you're at the point where you're committed to eating, exercising, and being in the right mindset, the system that does that really well is shouting the loudest. Then after a while, like you say, almost without warning, it's often when you're feeling a bit tired, something hasn't gone quite right. Another system which says we need to eat as much chocolate ice cream as possible in the shortest amount of time kicks in. And that system at that moment is shouting the loudest. So what we're up against are these competing systems. So that is an answer. Maybe not quite the answer you were expecting there, Anne. But that's essentially what's going on. So question then becomes, how do we make sure that A, when we have a relapse, that we can get back into doing it, and two, that we can keep our eating healthy, exercising, and being in the right mindset system running for longer? Well, several of that's easy. So some of those are some tools that we'll show you on the workshop. But your support network makes the difference. So if you can get together, and this is one of the things I really want to make sure we put in place, is the support network. People on the same journey will hold you up. You want at least 2 other people doing something very similar to you. They don't have to be in the same diet, but they have to have the same goal. And why 2 other people? Well, the day that you're feeling like you want to give up your diet and you don't want to exercise anymore, at least one of the other 2 people will feel like it. And strange thing as human beings, we'll do something for somebody else because we don't want to let them down. Why not 2 people? Why not just you and another friend? Well, there is a danger that if it's just 2 of you, there comes a time when you both coincide on a day where you've failed and you've eaten the food and you don't feel like exercising, and you commiserate together. But at 3, that tends not to happen. So the 3 of you get together. So that's where the support network comes in. And if you can find at least 2 other people, and that there's people online here which I know are great people, that will make all the difference. And did that help at all? Or do you have any follow-up questions or comments? Now, I was saying, because of my disability, I can't get to Chichester. Are you going to have it purely online version? Yes, we're going to have an online version of this. What I'll do, I'm going to start the filming in January. The reason being is there's a lot of research and work's gone into this, and I want to get it right. And also, I'm about to fly out to America the end of this week, because my son is getting married out in Utah. So that's delayed kind of processing. So it'll be starting early next year, and I'll let you know when the online version is there. Why do people carry on with a regime for months when they have no positive results? All right, so, and that's, so you must have something in mind there. Now, it's kind of a feedback loop. There'll be something going on. So, for example, there's certain commercial weight loss programs that kick into that where you turn up, and what they're looking for is that sociability of it. And so if you're getting something else beyond the actual weight loss, because if you're not getting the weight loss, you're not seeing the results that you want, then you're getting a payoff somewhere else. And it can be simple as a social network. You don't want to give up the social network, which would be sort of one of these weekly group meetings that you go to, which are really good because it gets people turning up. But if you're not seeing results that you're after, you're going for different reasons. You're going for that reinforcement. And sometimes people do it because they're so sold on the idea, they just really wanted to make it work. And what they haven't got in place is a feedback loop to tell them, are they achieving results or not? So there's several reasons there, but it's normally there's some sort of secondary gain going on about weight loss. And we talked about a little bit about this last time. So often it's not so much about losing the weight. The weight will disappear where you can get some of the other psychological things going on. So if somebody's, as I don't know, feeling empty in their life for whatever reason. The thing that they're doing is the reward. Whereas food used to be the reward, they're looking for something to fill a hole, not necessarily get results. So excellent. So good questions. Anything else, guys? Or would you like to comment on anything I've just said? We can see that on one level, it's very simple to lose weight. We know that. We know if you have too many calories and you're not doing enough exercise, it's the calorie in, calories out model, which means we all should lose weight very easily. But it's another level. This is a very complex subject that we're looking at. And we're not even looking at psychological disorders around eating. We're just looking at healthy weight loss here. So thank you so much for taking part in this evening. And just to recap what we covered, we looked at the 4 pillars and we noticed that food and exercise were key to those. Mindset is one of the things we covered in last week's webinar about this, which again, if you haven't seen, if you do want to see it, it's on YouTube. Couldn't think what it was called then, but it's on YouTube. And with that, with the mindset, we explored that we tell us stories, we have cultural stories about what foods we can and cannot eat. And I shared with you the extent I had to go through to break somebody's program who wanted to be a vegetarian, wanted to eat a lot less cheese, because cheese was one of the things that they loved to eat. And so I shared with you an intervention that I put together. Now, hopefully that intervention didn't upset you in any way, but it was designed for a particular person. And I've done that in several small groups just to get some feedback since then. It's interesting what we've noticed. We notice strawberries makes your mouth water. Piglets, actually about half of the people that responded said food, the other half said, oh, cute. And then we looked at puppies, where nobody said any food, and no puppies were hurt during this. And it's all to do with this mindset we have around food. And then we discovered that sleep was key to losing weight in more ways than we could probably predict. And then we looked at this opportunity, this workshop coming up, which will have an online version also, which I'll keep you up to date with. So we covered a lot again in this short sessions, and we had some lovely questions. So thank you for those, guys. And I think I may have given a couple of long answers. So I try to keep the answers a little bit short there near the end. So what I do wish for you tonight is a good night's sleep. So you'll probably wake up a little bit slimmer tomorrow just because you've had a good night's sleep. Fabulous. Thank you ever so much for your participation. It's always very enjoyable to do this. Look out for some other webinars that we got planned coming up. And if I don't see you before, have a great Christmas and a happy New Year. Talk to you soon, guys. Thank you ever so much. Good night. Oh, Dean's gone. Baby's crying. Yeah, absolutely. Take care then. Thanks, mate. Have a wonderful evening. Great stuff. All right. The broadcast has now come to an end. As they say, Elvis has left the building. What a lovely group.